Hey, did you hear that just now? No. Okay. I mean, I definitely heard it. And if you didn't hear it, then I guess I'll explain to you real quick what that sound was just now. So if you haven't heard, that sound is the sound of a new anime being released this October known as DanDaDan. For those of you who read the manga, then you know that DanDaDan is quite possibly one of the trickiest anime to put in words. In this video, I'm going to try to articulate what DanDaDan is, why it's so exciting that it has an anime coming out this October, and for those of you who have never heard of DanDaDan before but may have seen circulation of people being really hyped about it, why this anime adaptation is going to be a ride. Oh, and if you want to hear about the DanDaDan panel that I got to attend at Anime NYC this past week, I think it's been a week now already, right? This past week, stay until the end of this video. I do have some fun behind the scenes. There were the English dubbed voice actors that were there. There were the Japanese voice actors that were there, along with the music composer for DanDaDan and the MBS producer for DanDaDan. So they got to reveal some behind the scenes as to, more about DanDaDan that you wouldn't know unless you attended the panel. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of AniMel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Mel, the host of this channel. Make sure you subscribe before you continue watching the rest of this video if you haven't already subscribed to my channel. But first things first, after the intro, is what exactly is DanDaDan? The name doesn't really give away what the anime is going to be about and what the story of the manga is. So I'm going to try to describe this in a sentence or two in the most simplistic manner that I can. DanDaDan is quite possibly one of the greatest universal love stories that includes a bunch of sci-fi, a bunch of action, and then a lot of rom-com. And it's got a little bit of the occult going on within DanDaDan, so if you are really sad that Jujutsu Kaisen is ending soon as a manga reader, then I highly suggest you pick up DanDaDan. Not that it is like JJK level brutal, not that it is JJK level action, but it's got a little bit of the yokai occult type of subgenre embedded in DanDaDan. It's not a direct apples to apples, but if you like the occult type of story, this has a little bit of that. We are going to try and keep this video as spoiler-free as possible because I want you to be able to enjoy it if you are a non-manga reader and if you intend on watching the anime for the first time coming October 3rd. What I will tell you is that DanDaDan is chock full of surprises, especially the very first episode, and then probably the preceding episodes. Before I dive into why you should be watching DanDaDan this fall, or perhaps picking up the manga, please note that DanDaDan will be getting 12 episodes coming this fall, and then we will be getting another 12 episodes in summer 2025. And a couple of other fun facts about DanDaDan. DanDaDan is written and illustrated by Tatsu Yukinobu sensei, who has also been an assistant on the likes of Fire Punch, which is created by Fujimoto sensei, same writer and illustrator for Chainsaw Man. I think he was also an assistant on Chainsaw Man, and was also an assistant illustrator on Hell's Paradise. And if you've ever read any of those, then you'll know, especially with part 1 of Chainsaw Man, as well as Fire Punch, there's a lot of extreme attention to detail, especially for scenic panels and double spread panels. I would like to assume that Tatsu sensei probably had a hand in those panels because you see very similar panels in DanDaDan. And that's gonna roll into my first point as to why you should watch and perhaps read the manga of DanDaDan. The attention to detail in the artistic style of DanDaDan is chef's kiss. Not only is the widespread panels extremely detailed and carefully drawn, but if we're going to translate this also into the anime, the character designs are so very unique. And I feel like that can only come from the mind of Tatsu sensei. He also has a very captivating eye for, I want to say, like the volume covers and the fashion detail for some of the characters, to the point that it's giving Bleach era vibes. It's not like to the same extent as Bleach era vibes, but it's giving that type of vibe, which I so very much enjoy as a big Bleach fan. But what makes this reading journey for DanDaDan, I want to say like the best when it comes to the illustration, aside from the character designs and them being so visually captivating and these beautiful panels that we get of scenic illustration, it is the action. Just like in my video Sakamoto Days where I just said, you know, Suzuki Sensei is a master at illustrating action, Tatsu Sensei also does a similar thing. You can see the clarity in the action that's going on within almost every single panel of DanDaDan. Tatsu Sensei makes it extremely clear, and it makes it really easy to follow along and read the story. So if you end up watching the anime and you think, I kind of want to read the manga, but I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy it as much as the anime, I'm here to quell your concerns and say that the manga is top notch. Even after seeing just one episode of DanDaDan, I will confidently say that the adaptation is going to be so similar that the only difference is going to be the fact that you're hearing voices, you're seeing motion, and everything is in color. But aside from that, the captivated action and feeling that you get from reading it seems to be adapted well and mirrored into the anime. And speaking to how the action makes it really easy to follow the story, the way that DanDaDan is constructed is also easy to follow. Every single arc is designed in a fashion that is chaotic but organized all at the same time. I can't really explain how Tatsu Sensei does it, but he does it really well. Every single arc has a purpose. Every single arc creates and develops a new problem that continues to expand on the universe of DanDaDan, which makes the story lore greater and greater with every single arc. But it manages to still like contain itself in a way that a reader and potentially a viewer can continue to follow the problems of the story and understand what are the outlying questions that still need to be answered. And if you've seen the trailers of DanDaDan or read the first few chapters of DanDaDan, then I think the first impression that most people get is, what the is going on? In the trailers, you can see that this story is mostly about two teenagers who challenge each other to go to these urban legend sites. Okarun, the male lead, believes in aliens but doesn't believe in ghosts. And polarizing Momo, or Ayase Momo, she believes in ghosts but not aliens. So they both challenge each other to go to these opposing urban legend sites. They both encounter these urban legends themselves and get caught up in this conundrum that, I can't really explain. If you realize in the trailers that Okarun eventually gets cursed based on his change in appearance, then congratulations, your understanding of the story is way greater than probably anyone else so far who has not read or watched the anime yet. But to my main points, when you see all of this happening, you wonder, what's going to be the purpose of this story, right? You come to find out that what you see in the trailers and how the story starts out is not really like the crux of the problem, because in reality, that problem ends up getting solved in the very first arc, and the real problem comes at the very end of that first arc. This is the style in which Tatsu Sensei kind of takes on with every single arc. There's this problem at the beginning of the arc, but then by the end of the arc, the real problem presents itself for each and every specific character that's introduced in new arcs, and then it continues to carry on and cascade throughout the rest of the story. And now I feel like we've reached a halfway point in the manga where it's like almost each and every character has a problem, which makes it really easy and clear to understand what needs to be resolved by the end of the story. So as you can see, the structure in which is done, really easy to follow, but the chaos in which how this is presented, probably just like this video, is that it's so enjoyable to follow along and still be able to grasp and understand what's happening. And with the lore that continues to grow with each and every new arc that we're presented within the story of DanDaDan, that presents itself via a way of urban legends and folklore. Within the story of DanDaDan, which I find really neat, as I mentioned earlier, there is this occult element, but there's also this aspect of urban legends. As I mentioned, a big crux of this story is Momo and Okarun encountering real-life aliens and ghosts. So each and every arc has a sub-antagonist or minor antagonist that alternates between ghost/yokai and alien. This lends itself to creating new yokai that perhaps Tatsu sensei came up with himself, real ghosts that are within Japanese folklore, and some weird explanations as to why people perceive aliens to be a certain way in our urban legends. Without spoiling anything, here are some examples of that. One of the ghosts presented within the story of DanDaDan is known, and maybe famously known in Japanese folklore since I want to say the 17th century, as the slit-mouth ghost. I can't remember when this ghost or this yokai was presented in the story, but the way that she's presented in the story and these characteristics of this yokai/ghost is the very same as to what's detailed within the folklore. And if you want to know the name for this slit-mouth yokai in Japanese, her name is Kuchisake Onna. Onna essentially means woman in Japanese. Furthermore, you can see some other urban legends, maybe like pop culture influence on DanDaDan. Like for example, they try to explain why aliens kidnap cows. Have you ever heard that urban legend that like aliens come to Earth and they take our cows? Well, DanDaDan does a really cute, funny thing where they explain why aliens take our cows. So I love the way that Tatsu sensei either elaborates on the stories of other yokai in Japanese folklore, how he kind of like plays and introduces the concept of ghosts in their existence in the human plane and why they haunt certain people and certain aspects and characteristics about them, as well as delving into the urban legends of aliens, UFOs, or UAPs as mentioned in the anime or the story of DanDaDan. I feel like I've spent a lot of time talking about the story, the way the story is structured, what the story is about and how it's being told, and I'd like to take a shift onto the characters now. Because while I really like the story of DanDaDan really hinges on its characters. I mean, the action is extremely captivating and is so cool, very creative. The battle scenes are top-notch, I want to say. I personally put it on par with something similar to Sakamoto Days type of action. But I mean, if you're reading both, then let me know your thoughts. The characters of DanDaDan really anchor the story of DanDaDan for me. Our main characters, Okarun and Momo, are basically opposites attract. If you couldn't tell from any of the trailers, this story is essentially a love story about them, but a little bit more you'll come to find out if you watch the anime or read the manga. And between these two, they complement each other so much and they grow between each other. But they still hold their own as individual characters, and I love the fact that Tatsu sensei, which sometimes doesn't happen with stories that have deuteragonists, they are given their equal share time, their equal screen time, or their equal page time, whatever you want to call it. And both characters have such either relatable characteristics or such strong characteristics that each of us want to embody to an extent, but not without their own flaws. If you watched my video on female characters that I'm really enjoying right now, and then you'll know that I talked about Momo a little bit in that video because I love how headstrong she is, I love how confident she is, I love how daring and courageous she is, but I also love how much she's still a teenager, how much she's succumbed to bouts of jealousy and envy, and how much she fights with Okarun over like really petty stuff. And then Okarun is displayed within the initial aspects of the trailers and within the first episode. How shy he is, how much he's been bullied all of his life, his motivation as to why he always believed in aliens, and it's kind of like really heartbreaking and beautiful. But then he's extremely caring and empathetic, also very courageous, despite actually being a bit of a coward in the beginning episode and first episode of DanDaDan. And both of these characters go on to impact a lot of the side characters that continuously get introduced in every new arc. These characters at first seem to be a little bit shallow, but as we dive into each and every one of their backstories, which Tatsu sensei does an amazing job doing in just maybe like 3 to 5 chapters, the way that he is able to evoke this type of saddened emotion that I can't read a single backstory from DanDaDan without crying. every single backstory, yokai backstory, side character backstory, I have bawled. And it ends up just being a story that flourishes with each and every new character that we get. So I want to end this segment by just saying, like, if you don't have DanDaDan on your watch list, if you don't have DanDaDan on your read list, I highly encourage that you add it to one of the two or both. DanDaDan is an extremely captivating, unpredictable, but well-structured rom-com, sci-fi, action, shonen, new type of story that Tatsu sensei is and has been breathing his whole life into. It feels like he's breathing his energy into that, because the way that he produces these beautifully illustrated panels from week to week without a break. I don't think Tatsu sensei has taken a break since the manga has been released. Now, if you're still here watching this video, I do want to talk about a bit of the panel that I went to at Anime NYC. Anime NYC was so gracious to host a DanDaDan panel that premiered the English dubbed first episode of DanDaDan. You can watch DanDaDan when it comes out on October 3rd, week to week on Netflix, Crunchyroll, Hulu. It's going to basically be everywhere. Or you can watch the first 3 episodes from what it seems like is going to also have bonus content in theaters starting September 13th, which apparently is also Friday the 13th. Very funny how it worked out that way, considering the occult nature and sci-fi theme of DanDaDan. All right, I'm gonna take a quick breath right there. I don't know why I keep talking so fast. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm really excited about the release of DanDaDan, or I've been really excited to do this video. So first of all, I just want to say that I normally watch subbed. I watch subbed only because, like, I want to be like in the know as to what's going on. I like to avoid spoilers that happen online. So the easiest way to do that is to watch subbed, right? It sounds like that they've already been dubbing, which means that the dubbing could be released at the same time as the sub. So if you're a dubbed viewer, hopefully you'll be getting same time releases of DanDaDan dubbed as the subbed in English. And I just want to say that as a subbed viewer, the dubbed sounds so good. It sounds so beautiful. The emotion that is being evoked by the English voice actors sounds so similar to the Japanese voice acting. And hearing it side by side at the panel, which we got a live dubbing both in Japanese and English at the panel. I have never seen a live dubbing before. It was the coolest thing I had ever seen. Unfortunately, I don't have any photos or footage because it's prohibited when you attend a premiere panel like that, but it was the coolest thing I had ever seen. And the type of emotion, again, that was evoked by both the Japanese voice actors and the English voice actors, it felt very similar despite the languages being completely different. As many DanDaDan fans already know, Ushio Kensuke-san is the musical composer for DanDaDan. If you've never heard of Ushio Kensuke-san, he has done the music composition for Chainsaw Man, he's done the music composition for Devilman Crybaby, and he has also done the music compositions for A Silent Voice, which is a, I want to say like a drama movie if you've never seen that before, and Heavenly Delusion. Heavenly Delusion, Chainsaw Man, and Devilman Crybaby all have very similar chaotic sci-fi vibes as to what DanDaDan has. But what he explained during the panel is that some of the inspiration that you hear in some of the trailers, notably trailer number 2, is the fact that he seemed to use like some sort of sampling from like the 60s or the 70s. As you can hear, there's like this disco or funk type of vibe within the second trailer of DanDaDan if you really like listen to it. And I'm not gonna lie, it really does give the vibe when you're watching the trailer that this fits well. And the last thing that I'll note about the panel is that AJ, who is the English dubbed voice actor for Okarun, he mentioned that this is one of the few times and rare times that the English and the Japanese voice actors are having exchanges about the anime and the dubbing of the anime content. This doesn't normally happen, and I mean, it's pretty cool that it is happening, and he strongly emphasized how pretty awesome it is. It's been a really good experience for them all. And I mean, I feel like it really shows, as I mentioned, you get the sense that the tone is being matched so well despite the different languages. So all of that is just to say that everyone has a lot to look forward to when the anime gets released. There's so much excitement being built around DanDaDan, and I want to say the anime specifically too, that I just want to put it on your radar. If you haven't heard of it before, if you're not reading it, if you're not contemplating on watching it, give it a try. You're gonna come back and be like, Mel, this was a great rec. Thank you for introducing the world of DanDaDan to me. Even though the first chapter / the first episode is gonna be a little bit rough, I promise you that it will just exponentially improve and you will be sucked in by all of the beautiful action scenes, the beautiful animation. Science Sato is doing an amazing job. And the characters will keep you reading and watching. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for joining. I truly appreciate your viewership, subscribing to my channel, and watching my content. Please let me know your thoughts below on how you felt about this video. This has been another episode of Animel. I will catch you all on the next one. Bye.